We are a blended family.
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 We're a blended family.
We are a blended family.
We are a blended family.
We are a blended family.
And we are a blended family. Hi, we're Doctors Larry and Carol Snap. We're glad to have you with us today, this afternoon here in Phoenix, Arizona. Week 5 of 12. This one is the spousal relationship. So it's always good to start in the beginning. God created man in his image. Now, we've talked a little bit about some of this along the way, but this is a little more involved and more specific this time than some of the other ones. Are just kind of, we hit the 30,000 foot level before. Now we're going to be down closer to where we can see the people's faces on the ground here. So God created man in his image. And as we've mentioned before, Adam was alone for a while. We don't really know how long, but it was just him for a while. He was given the task of naming all the animals that had been created. And whatever Adam called them, that's what they were. And then after a little while, after Adam had named all the animals, and he said, there's nothing like Adam out there, so it's not good for him to be alone. And then he created Eve out of Adam. But back there, it's let us create man in our image. And then God created man, male and female. So we have males and we have females. And God did that on purpose. Okay? We look at Genesis 1:28. We see God's blessing and marching orders. He told Adam and Eve to be fruitful, multiply, and take dominion over everything that moves. So all the animals, anything that crawls around, walks around, fish, you name it. It's humans who were created in God's image were told to take dominion over everything. Now, these days, we see that, due to the spiritual warfare nature of things, some of the things that God created are being used to take dominion over us. Plants, chemicals, corn, other stuff, make alcohol, other plants make drugs out of, even just chemicals. Sometimes they make drugs out of. So, and then people get addicted to those things, and now they're under the dominion of, the dark side. So, when sin entered, we sort of lost the dominion part. Satan was given dominion over the earth. You got all of creation, right? God's in charge of that. And then there's earth here, and that kind of belongs to Satan. But even this is all controlled by God, right? So nothing happens without God's knowing and without his okay. So Satan has rule of the earth, and his purpose is to distort and corrupt everything that God created. That's his desire. Okay, so God created man and woman with a purpose. He didn't just create them just for fun. He created them to do stuff. All right? Well, he created them with specific things to do and specific parts to play. Now, in God's wisdom, he created females to produce eggs and males to fertilize them. So biology 101 here. They have a purpose. They have a role to do. And because of the way they're created differently, they have different roles. Now, we see today there's a lot of people confusing the roles, and things are getting all screwed up. Families are being torn apart and all kind of things. But we touched on this a little bit last week. Men were created to be husbands, fathers. They were created to guide, guard, and govern. And they were created to be prophets, priests, and kings. The women, the females, were created to be wives, mothers, teachers, comforters, the queen, and builders of husbands. That's part of their role, is to build the husband. There's a proverb, I don't know the chapter and verse, but there's a proverb that says, a wise woman builds her house, the foolish one tears it down with her own hands. And part of her own hands includes her speech, right? Her own devices. So that's one of the roles of a wife, is to build the husband. And what we had last week, that man is the image and glory of God, and the woman is the glory of the man, right? So that's how God created it to be. So,
Can I interrupt you a little bit?
yeah.
Kind of explain a little bit more about that glory.
Okay.
Why wouldn't men be the glory of God and women be the glory of men? With that glory of God.
Why would they?
Yeah, why would the Lord use that as a description?
Okay, well, God created Adam in his image. Total image of God, right there. Boom. Okay? God created that for his glory. So his image would be spread all over the world. Okay? God wants the glory. Some people will say, you can touch the gold, just don't touch the glory. All right? The glory belongs to God.
Is that kind of like, so God gets bragging rights?
Yeah, that's part of the glory. Yeah. We give him all the glory for whatever good things happen in our life, right? Because we didn't do it. He set it up so that it could happen. But for the woman to be the glory of man, it was like, okay, I created the woman for you, Adam. So you can understand what glory is, so that you'll give glory to me. I allowed you to have some through your wife. But that's kind of her purpose in the building of the husband, is so that he can glory in her goodness. So that's where the glory would come from, is having a godly wife, right? So, I guess, does that help?
A little.
A little. What's?
Well, I guess my thinking is that your wives reflect you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So how well you're taking care of your wife shows how good of a husband you are, but that just may be the way I think.
Well, it's a big part of that, right? And we look at this other stuff, like in Ephesians, mutual respect, those kind of things. If the husband is not doing what he's supposed to do, being the good husband, the godly husband who is Christ-centered, right? Being the image of Christ, if he's not doing that, there's not going to be any glory there. Because, we look at that crazy circle, the love and respect thing, right? If he's not loving, he's not going to get any respect. And everybody's going to know based on their behavior that he's not getting any glory from her, and so he's they're going to know just based on how people behave in public, right?
Yeah.
So if the husband is doing what he's supposed to do, the odds are much better. It's not a guarantee by any means, but the odds are much better that if he's leading, doing the prophet and priest thing, she's going to be more godly in her behavior, more Christ-like as well. And being more Christ-like, she's going to understand her role as a godly wife, building up her husband so that he can be more godly and more, it's one of those circular things. The more one does good, then the more the other one does that's good generally, and then it reinforces the good behavior. But the negative is also true.
When we're talking, what made me think about, popped in my mind is the moon. How the moon doesn't have its own light, but it reflects the glory of the sun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is not a source of light, but it's a mirror.
Yeah.
So what we see is just the sun on the other side of the earth that's reflecting off the moon, right? Yeah, it does not have its own energy or its own light or anything. It's just it reflects.
And the way God set it up, as Larry has pointed out, the different categories there, the husband, fathers, guide, guard, and govern, and prophet, priest, and king, it's supposed to be a journey that you take together. And one doing one good thing, the other one is going to do what they're supposed to do as well. It's not supposed to be one where the husband does everything or the wife does everything. It's a journey, and you guys are to enjoy the journey, enjoy the relationship, not only with each other, but as God, the relationship with Him. That's how He set it up. But you have to walk it together. But different times, the wife's more ahead maybe with her walk with God than the husband is, or vice versa. And in our case, Larry was ahead with God. And then he kept trying to beat me over the head with the Bible. Why don't you know this? Wait a minute.
Larry and I must be related. I didn't sing to him.
Yeah, you can't do that. You have to allow us time to catch up. It's but that's part of the journey, and you're supposed to enjoy that part. You guys have your eye on the prize. The goal is the same, supposed to be for the both of you, to be as godly as you can be for each other, for God, and for your family. But that's the beauty of it. Together, you explore that.
Yeah, it's part of being that one flesh, right? Being of one mind. If that one mind is Christ-like, then you're doing the things that you were created to do. It's when we get in the flesh more, we get selfish, and I can vouch for the fact that when you get selfish, you also get stupid, and you do stupid stuff. So it's important to understand what you're supposed to be doing so that you can do it. If you have no idea what you're supposed to be doing, you're all over the place, right? It's kind of like the guy that would shoot and then paint the bullseye around where he hit, instead of having the bullseye and then doing what he had to do to be able to hit it.
But I just do that so I can say I hit it.
Well, that's what that guy was doing. Yeah, I've never missed the bullseye. Well, I painted it on the barn before I shot, or after I shot, I should say.
Like the movie Secondhand Luke.
Secondhand Lions.
Secondhand Lions. They take a shotgun and shoot the fish, and that's how they fish. I mean, they don't take time to put the fishing pole in. They shoot the fish, and hey, look what I got.
And then they have to watch out for the buckshot and the fish.
But you gotta admit, that's kind of like smart in a way, because it's easier.
It's twice as fast.
It's quicker. Yeah, right?
You just have your little net to scoop them up, and there you go. You got your dinner.
If you
Yeah.
haven't seen that movie, it is so funny. Secondhand Lions. It is so funny.
Let's see. Okay, so summarizing what we've done so far, God created us in His image to be His glory, and like Karen brought up, man is the image and glory of God, and the woman is the glory of the man. That's the way God set it up. We have certain roles we are to do. Husbands, men, or husbands, fathers, they're supposed to guide, guard, and govern, which is kind of the same as prophet, priest, and king. Wives, women, wives, mothers, teachers, comforters, they're the queen in the castle, builders of husbands. Okay? Now, we're going to take a few minutes and watch a video by Mark Gungor. It's all about men's brains and women's brains and how the two handle stress.
Yeah, this is a new one. Well,
So I
this old, but yeah.
got to get this ready here. Okay.
I don't know how he's going to flip it around. He'll flip it around somehow. Larry, does Sergio just turn that around to the screen or what?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to start discussing men's brains, women's brains, and how they're very different from each other. Now, I want to start with men's brains. All right, now men's brains are very unique. Men's brains are made up of little boxes. And we have a box for everything. We've got a box for the car. We've got a box for the money. We've got a box for the job. We've got a box for you. We've got a box for the kids. We've got a box for your mother somewhere in the basement. We got boxes everywhere. And the rule is, the boxes don't touch.
That's
When a man discusses a particular subject, we go to that particular box. We pull that box out. We discuss only what is in that box. All right? And then we close the box and put it away, being very, very careful not to touch any other boxes. Sorry, my Catholic upbringing got in there for a minute, but I'm not a Catholic, but I went to Catholic school when I was little. I had a nun who taught on hell like she was born and raised there. I mean, I'll never forget. But it did me good, actually. It was a good thing. Now, women's brains are very, very different from men's brains. Women's brains are made up of a big ball of wire. And everything is connected to everything. Money's connected to the car, and the car's connected to your job, and your kids are connected to your mother, and everything's connected to everything. And it's like... It's like the internet superhighway. And it's all driven by energy that we call emotion. It's one of the reasons why women tend to remember everything. Because if you take an event and you connect it to an emotion, it burns in your memory and you can remember it forever. The same thing happens for men. It just doesn't happen very often because, quite frankly, we don't care. to care about everything. And she just loved it. Okay? Now, men, we have a box in our brain that most women are not aware of. This particular box has nothing in it. It's true. It's true. In fact, we call it the nothing box. And of all the boxes a man has in his brain, the nothing box is our favorite box. If a man has a chance, he'll go to his nothing box every time. That's why a man can do something seemingly completely brain dead for hours on end. You know, like fishing. And we love it. That's why a guy can sit in front of a TV and go. Close. Of course, this drives our wives nuts because they'll come up and say, "Stop it! You can't possibly be watching anything!" I'm not. Go away. Now, they've actually measured this. The University of Pennsylvania a couple of years ago did a study and discovered that men have the ability to think about absolutely nothing and still breathe. You know, they connected all the wires and stuff like that, watched the brain activity, and then all of a sudden, I think he's dead! Huh? Yeah. Women can't do it. They can't do it. Their minds never stop. And they don't understand the nothing box. And it drives them crazy. Because nothing drives a woman more crazy or makes her feel more irritated than to witness a man doing nothing. Now, one of the biggest revelations I get out of women is this whole nothing box issue. They just, everything's starting to make sense. And I've had women say, "Oh, it's not, can I go in as nothing?" Now, one of the biggest revelations I get out of women is this whole nothing box issue. They just, everything's starting to make sense. And I've had women say, "Oh, it's not, can I go in as nothing box with you?" No! Why not? Because then it's something! Besides, you'll walk in there and go, you know, this place could really use some pictures. Nice little table over here, some flowers. No! Nothing! Get out! We don't have nothing. Now, this handles the way men and women handle stress. Okay? When a man is stressed out, all he wants to do is run to his nothing box. This is how we unwind. the last thing we want to do when we're stressed out is talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. We just want to. Because this drives her nuts, you know. A woman will see a man in that vegetative state, and she'll come up and go, "What you thinking about?" Now then. We got anything about subject? Now it's about nothing. Like I was on a roll till you showed up. No. Alright? Because that's how he handles stress. He just. Now when a woman is stressed out, she has to talk about it. If she doesn't talk about it, her brain will literally explode. So she'll start just, I don't know, my next time doing this, not I'm gonna have that, I never thought about this. I'd rather be here today and I know men who run from their wives when they do this. They do this, I say, well, why do you run from her? He says, because I don't know what to tell her. I said, dear God, man, who told you to tell her anything? She wants you to tell her anything. See, a lot of guys, they feel obligated when you start explaining all your stress, they feel obligated to fix you. Right? Because that's what a man does. A man only tells his troubles to another man in hopes that that man will help fix it. Okay? But she's not a man. And you try and fix her, she's gonna kill you. She doesn't want your advice. She doesn't want your help. She wants you to shut up and listen. And a couple of ladies, that's right, you tell her. Tell her to shut up. They like that. Now, I had one guy tell me, he said, man, she just tell me how she feels. I said, she doesn't know yet. So what he means, that's how she figures out how she feels by connecting this wire to that wire to this wire. So, now, because they love each other, they offer to each other their answer, their solution. A man senses his wife is stressed out. He loves the girl. He offers to the girl his best and finest solution. I guess we're talking about it. just quit thinking about it. And that's when she starts reaching for the knives and stuff. She's gonna stab you if you keep it up, okay? Now, a woman, she senses her husband's all stressed out. She loves him. Therefore, she offers to him her best and finest solution. Talk to me. Why won't you talk to me? Go away. He doesn't want to talk to you. Leave him alone. He will not die. He's not a woman. I know you've got to talk it through. You're going to be twisted inside. He's not like that. Leave the boy alone. You tell he's stressed out, just let him go to his nothing box. Stay away. to start discussing men.
He is awesome. He is awesome. Much younger.
Yeah.
That's why men take a lot of naps.
Yeah,
That's why mine goes and hides in the bedroom with the TV.
that's right. That's exactly right.
And I go in going, what's wrong?
Talk to me.
Except the video game remote.
Yeah. So that
This works.
the video game is connected to the nothing box, right?
Just to,
Yeah, that's same thing. That was Mark Gungor, Laugh Your Way to a Better Marriage.
There's many, many more, but those are the two we use the most.
I've seen it probably 20 times. I still laugh. It's funny. So,
His style is just awesome.
we talk about it because I like food, waffles and spaghetti. Okay, he's boxes and a ball of wire, but the waffles have all the little squares, right? And the spaghetti if you get a plate full of it, you can't tell one noodle from the other because they're all connected. Basically, one thing he didn't really mention though was men generally are today and in the future. They're like right now and what's happening later. If it's 10 minutes ago, it's like that's old news, right?
it's in the box the wrong way.
Yeah. Women, though, being very different, are generally more in the past and today. So the one thing we have in common is right now, okay? But this is one reason that women, like he said, tend to remember everything, right? But it's also a little tougher for them to forgive because they remember things that they got the emotion tied to the feelings and all that kind of stuff. And to them, it's more about how did we get here? Right? They're here today, now, but where their brain is, the way it functions is all the stuff that happened up to this point. Man, we're looking down the road. We know it's like we know we're here, but we're thinking about what's happening in the next 20 minutes.
Well, it's like
Or-
you guys want to forget about it. Hey, it's already bad news or history because it was even just 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Us women are saying, I want to go back there. I want to make sure I don't make those same mistakes again to repeat. So I have to digest it a while longer before
Yeah.
I can completely go ahead. And that's what you guys don't understand a lot of times.
Well,
Takes
yes.
longer to process.
But on the other hand, sometimes the women don't understand how the men work. And that's why it's so important that we show this video and explain all this stuff, because we want the other person to do it the way we do.
Right.
Right?
We do each other's right.
Well, yeah, our way's better.
But has
Right.
it been a proven fact, happy wife, happy life?
Well, yeah, there's that one that's it's better to live in the wilderness than with an angry and contentious woman. So that's part of that, yeah.
They're remembering.
Don't bring up wilderness, because that's where he wants to go.
Oh, that's where his nothing box is.
Exactly.
Men is kind of like, and I remember my mom said this, it's kind of like it's you can't cry over spilt milk, so you move on.
Right.
But women have that fear of, if this happened, there's a possibility it can happen again.
Sure.
So what do I need to do or know to prevent that fear of the future? Keep it from happening in the future.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Good
and
point.
There was a teaching there, and I can't remember the book, but it talks about how sometimes we get stuck not living for today because we're either in the two extremes. We're either concentrating on the past or worried about the future that we don't live for today.
For now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because another one of those big differences is in what we need as a man, it's significance. We need to be significant. We're the hero. We're the superhero. We're Batman or Superman or somebody. Like Karen was saying, though, for the woman, it's security, right? And that because of how they deal with things that have happened in the past, when they start thinking about the future, now there's a fear factor that comes in, and all these what ifs, right? Oh, what if it happens again? What if this? What if that? Right? That's just part of the spiritual warfare. Satan comes along, he understands this, right? So this is what he attacks. He'll attack the woman's security by creating thoughts of what if it happened before? What if it happens again? And for the men, most of us have heard something from our own fathers about you'll never amount to anything, or something along those lines, right? It's the significance. And we have those things rattling around in the back of our head, and sometimes we overcompensate, we become workaholics to try to be significant. Or, it's all about money, or, those kind of things. But a guy is going to do things that create significance. Now, if his wife understands that, the builder of the husband, it's creating an atmosphere of significance. That's what that means, right?
If we dwell on that past, we dwell on their mistakes over and over again, they can never be the superhero that they want to be. So they're ready to move forward.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to make amends. I'm going to move forward. But we don't want to rehash the past, and it just holds you down. Yeah. You never get over it, and okay, let's move on. Let's be what we need to be.
It's like always looking in the rearview mirror. You can't go forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to continue driving in the rearview mirror, or do you want to go?
Sir Joe.
Yesterday is yesterday. If you try to recapture it, you will only lose tomorrow.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And that's where a guy is, right? Because we're now and tomorrow, we're looking at where we're going. God created us that way. And I didn't put it on the board, but in my notes, there's something that I talk about sometimes. This thing, while the baby is still in the womb, there's a chemical thing that happens that changes the way the brain works. And it's a testosterone bath, so it only happens to the male babies. But it changes the way the connectors work between the two halves, and it allows the man to be more focused and more visionary versus the woman who uses both halves it's all connected, right? It's just one big brain and not so much divided into halves. But that being more relational fits in with this because it's about how things happen, who they happen with, and all those kind of things. So,
Doesn't the man have to give the 1, 2, 3, 4, or not?
well,
Say one thing, 1 minute, and then
yeah.
completely opposite.
Well, right.
Goes back to the past.
Well, we're going from a biblical perspective here, right? That this is what we're supposed to be doing. Most of us never do it right. So, but it's becoming, the whole purpose of even this whole class is to be able to help become what we aren't. To become more Christ-like, right? We don't want to stay where we're at. We want to grow and be more spiritually mature and stuff like that. So it's gaining an understanding of how the brains work that helps you see things from the other's perspective sometimes. And that's huge. One of those things that I learned in counseling was that my job is not to fix things, it's just to shut up and listen. And I was typical, what's the problem? Okay, well, let's deal with that and fix it so that the problem goes away, right? That's not what she wants. She wants her feelings validated, which leads to feeling secure, right? Okay, I'm good. I'm validated now. I understand. Okay, so I feel more secure. But yeah, the husband is the one that's supposed to be providing that. I didn't put it up here, but he's basically the builder of the wife. The protector. That's the guard and the priest part, right? Is speaking life into things, not death. But our flesh constantly gets in the way, and we're speaking, negative stuff. Our brains are thinking negative stuff. And that's why the scripture says, take every thought captive, so that you think twice before you speak. If you only think once and it comes out, then it's probably not going to be a good one.
We go back to what Mark Thunder says, we want each other, we try to give each other our solution.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I thought that was great. We want to give our best, but it's not what the other one needs or wants. It's what we want, right? And that's all we know. So it's huge. If you can understand what he was saying about how the brains work and what a man needs and what a woman needs and how they relate to one another, you have to kind of put that in your head so that before you start driving to a solution for something, you realize, okay, for a guy, I got to kind of reset where I'm coming from. Oh, yeah, I got to just listen. I don't need to fix things. You got to, practice that thinking. So you have to kind of consciously think, okay, I'm a guy. I want to go to my nothing box right now, but I have to listen to what's going on and then validate the feelings and all that kind of stuff, and then pray.
It doesn't mean it when you want to validate, though. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have to be sincere about it, right? We look at 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I believe. It talks about marriage being between one man and one woman. It's supposed to be a covenant with God till death do us part. It also talks about not defrauding one another. So, obviously we're talking about the sexual relationship here. It says in there that the husband's body does not belong to him, it belongs to her, and vice versa. So, the whole point, though, here is love gives. Lust takes. So, when you're talking about the sexual relationship, it's not what am I getting, it's how can I serve. That's where the head needs to be. But we're talking blended families for the most part here. Obviously, there's frequently cohabitating going on. People try to say, is this going to work or not? So they try it out for a while before they get married. It's important to do a spiritual reset at some point. So before you all get married, take some time apart so you can spiritually be in more of a virgin state. God created marriage to be entered into by two virgins, and then that's, one man, one woman till death do us part. The biggest thing there is there's nothing to compare. That's the biggest problem with premarital sex, is now you've got things to compare. So that always gets in the way.
Opens up the door for the enemy to come in.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Well, you have things in your head, and the same with pornography. Those images become idols in your brain. Been there, done that. Again, love gives, lust takes. Ephesians 5:21-33. It's submitting one to another. You're equal in value. The man is not more valuable than the wife. There should be mutual respect. You know, in God's eyes, I'm just as valuable as you are. And because we both love God, we should both love each other. Right? Husbands, this is 5:33, Ephesians, husbands, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Again, the church is the bride of Christ. And the other part of that is wives, respect your husband. So husbands need to love your wife. Wives need to respect your husband. And one of the things that we need to talk about here is respect is something that's based on position, not necessarily performance. So that's where it gets difficult, right? Most of us figure, well, I will respect you when you earn it. Well, do we respect God because He earned it? Or just because of His position as Creator? Right? Now, obviously, He's never done anything wrong. He's always there. He never lets us down. So, He sort of does earn it. But there's a big difference here. You know, especially for guys at work, most everything is done based out of respect for somebody's position. And then we complain about their performance. But we still respect them because of their position. And in a godly marriage, godly household, it should be more based on position than performance. But if the wife is building up the husband, that shows respect. And when he feels respected, he will love. It's that crazy circle that we talk about later on, the love and respect thing. Without love, she reacts. Without respect, and without respect, he reacts. Without love, and around you go. And everybody does it. It just, you need to be able to recognize that you're on the ride, and then somebody, okay, time out. Let's get off of this ride and do something else.
It's also a good place to talk about the 2-cow difference.
Yeah, the 2-cow versus the 10-cow. Heard this a while back. Some country in Africa, I don't know which one, could be anyone, but cattle are a form of money. The more cows you have, the bigger, the wealthier you are. And when it comes to marriage, there needs to be a dowry or a payment made to the father of the bride from the groom to basically buy his blessing. Okay? Well, in this particular instance, there were 3 or 4 young guys, and they're all talking about which gal in the village they were interested in, and this one guy says, I'm going to get that one. And she's a 10-cow woman. And they're all like, dude, you're crazy. 2 cows at the most. Right? So they're giving him a hard time about it, and you know, they're all talking about the other ones that they're interested in, you know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 cows, you know. This one is like the run of the litter in the village, but he's willing to go 10 cows? Well, he did, but he treated her like that. He treated her as if she was worth 10 cows. And she rose to that level of performance because he treated her that way. He talked about her that way. He didn't expect her to be a 10-cow bride and treat her like 2 cows, right? Which happens a lot, right? So it's position, not performance. And there's a big difference between like being for someone, you know, like God is for us. That's an active word. He's for us. He's trying to help us. Versus not against. You see, kind of see the difference? I can be not against you, but basically I don't care, right? Do what you want. I don't care. I'm not going to get in your way. God is for you. He's trying to bless you. He's trying to do good things for you. He's actively working on your behalf. So there is a difference there between like the active participation, like for and not against, or against and not for. It's the difference there. I can be not for somebody, but again, I don't really care. I'm not going to do anything to help you, but I'm not going to get in your way. If I'm for you, I'm going to do things actively to try to help you, even if it costs me something. And that's the way God works. He gave up his son for us on our behalf. So, any other comments, questions? Everything good? Everybody got the brains figured out?
I was thinking about that, that God likes things decently and in order. So, the position over performance. Don't get me wrong, performance is important, but, respecting because of position, God is interested in order and that hierarchy. So one of the things he taught me was regarding, your parents, honor your father and mother that it may be well with your soul and your days are long on the earth. It's based on position, not performance.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But that law was in the 10 Commandments. Well, mankind had been, living for thousands of years, even the flood had came. So God already knew the wickedness of man when he enacted this commandment. And so he understands about the importance of that hierarchy, because if not, it's anarchy. And so keeping that order is very important. And then God honors that. And so this is his setup, not ours. And when we do it things our way, then things work, a lot better. As opposed to anarchy, then there's chaos. So it's based on, like you said, once you give them that position, then out of that, then automatic that performance will come into play.
Yeah, I think
First things first.
Right. If you honor the position, honor it, more than likely the performance will follow. Right? But if you demand the performance before the respect of the position, you're going to get rebellion probably. So.
And Joyce Myers gave a great example about her parents, because you probably know her story about being molested by her dad, and her mom was aware and complicit in that. But as they got older, the Lord required her to take care of her parents, which she did. She was obedient to that. And she said last night, if she hadn't did that part, her ministry probably wouldn't be good as that. So she was obedient to that commitment in spite of what they did. And she was obedient to that.
Yeah. If you look at the commandment, it doesn't say anything about performance. It's honor them because that's who they are. Right? And we honor God because he is our Father. Right? So it follows with how we do the vertical with the horizontal. It has nothing to do with performance. It's God establishes the position of everybody. Right? So if we look at it, just the easiest reference is politics. People that are governors or presidents or whoever they are, God allowed them to be in that position. Good or bad. Some are good to bless us, some are bad to punish us. But God allowed that to be that way. So
and it's not that people get away with it, but I was taught 2 wrongs don't make a right. And so if the parent is disobedient, they answer to God. But if I'm disobedient because they're disobedient, I've got to answer to God too.
Yeah.
And that's why I said Jill was a great example of that. That she believed that God was fitting for this ministry because of what she went through, her being obedient to His word, honoring Him.
Yep. Yeah. Well, just like Karen said, crap happens. But well, you can honor somebody from a distance. Okay? It's honoring includes things like not speaking evil of, praying for. You know, this person may be a jerk, but what is your Christian response to a jerk? You pray for him. You try to love him anyway. Again, it's that rubs off on him. Pray though. Don't just wish. Pray. Well, you know, it's all God's timing. But fifth commandment, Karen, because that really says just do this. It's not about do they deserve it or not. It's do it, right? But you can do it from a distance. You don't have to be, you know, all huggy and, you know, and then gag on the way out. Yeah, you know what happened, but you honor them because of their position, because God said to. So it's a Nike thing, right? Just do it because God said it. Anything else? We're pretty much out of time. Again, we are working with ChristianLivingRadio.com. Our website is blendedfamiliesministry.org. If any of this helps anybody, don't feel shy about going to the website, maybe throwing in a $5 bill or something or more, whatever. Would be greatly appreciated. And next week it's going to be all about the vertical relationship. And all the resources are on the website and all that. So we'll be back next week.
Christian living, Christian living. Christian Living Radio. It's a lifestyle. Christian living, Christian living. Christian Living Radio. It's a lifestyle. Christian living.
Christian Living Radio, spreading the good news of Jesus Christ 24/7. Our goal is to bring you a life-changing word through music and diverse programming, like the one you're listening to now. Pastor Kenyatta Goins is the visionary of Christian Living Radio, and he's dedicated to the idea that Christians should even have a more prominent presence in the marketplaces. Maybe you need prayer for yourself and or your family, maybe for a friend. We'd be privileged to stand in the gap for you. If you're listening to this broadcast, click on the Contact Us tab and send us your prayer request. We'd also like to hear from you if you have something on your mind or just give us some feedback. We support many ministries, so maybe you'd like to make a one-time or a monthly recurring donation. We believe that when you sow into these ministries, you'll indeed be blessed. And of course, if you sow into this show in particular, We believe that it's a blessing for you, so please consider sponsoring us. There's a special area under the Donate tab where you can send your monetary gift or call 520-812-6363. That's 520-812-6363 to receive more information about sponsorship. Thank you.